Welcome! I am Teacher M. This math tutorial video is focused on limit properties. If you are interested to learn more about this topic, stay and watch the entire video. In this limit properties video series, 8 limit properties will be covered for the entire series. These are constant, identity, scalar, sum and difference, product, quotient, power, and radical property of limit. For this fifth episode, the video is focused on the product property. Before you continue to watch this video, it is advisable to learn first the following properties: constant, identity, scalar, and sum and difference property. These enumerated properties will be used in this video and will not be explained on details. If you haven't knew it yet, you may watch it first using the link on the description below, or you may search it using the search tool of YouTube. Product property states that limit of the product of two or more functions is the product of the limit of the functions, where b and c are real numbers, n be a positive integer, and f and g be the functions with the following limits, l and n. To make it simpler, take a look at this example. What's the limit of the product of x and the difference of x and 2 as x approaches negative 1? The example is showing that there are two functions being multiplied, x and the difference of x and 2. By applying the product property, take the limit of the first factor, which is the limit of x, as x approaches negative 1, and take the limit of the second factor, which is the limit of the difference of x and 2 as x approaches negative 1. This is what we mean by product property. To solve this, apply the other properties of limit. The first factor can be solved using the identity property, and the second factor can be solved using sum and difference property. In the next step of the solution, the sum and difference is being applied first. Bring down the first factor, then apply the sum and difference property. It is expanded to the limit of x as x approaches to negative 1 and subtracted it to the limit of 2 as x approaches negative 1. To continue, apply the identity property to the first factor. The limit of x as x approaches negative 1 is negative 1. Inside of the second factor, apply again the identity property to the limit of x as x approaches to negative 1, which is negative 1, and constant property to the limit of negative 2 as x approaches negative 1, and the limit is negative 2. Get the difference of the result, which is negative 3, then multiply it to negative 1. The limit of the product of x and x minus 2 as x approaches negative 1 is 3. Another example, what's the limit of the product of the difference of x and 2 and the sum of x and 2 as x approaches 0? I'll give you 5 seconds to decide whether to pause this video and give it a try or continue this video. Let's continue. Apply the product property. It becomes the limit of the first factor, which is the difference of x and 2 as x approaches 0, and the limit of the second factor, which is the sum of x and 2 as x approaches 0. And that's the product property of limit. To get the limit, apply the sum and difference property to both factors. For the first factor, the difference of the limit of x as x approaches 0 and the limit of 2 as x approaches 0. For the second factor, the sum of the limit of x as x approaches 0 and the limit of 2 as x approaches 0. Next, identity and constant property can be applied for both factors. In the first factor, apply the identity property to find the limit of x as x approaches 0 is 0, and apply the constant property to find the limit of 2 as x approaches 0 is 2, and then get the difference of the result. For the second factor, apply the limit properties similar on what I did on the first factor. By applying the limit properties, we have the sum of 0 and 2. Simplify inside the parentheses, we have negative 2 and the sum is 2. Then get the product, which is negative 4. Thus, the limit of the function as x approaches 0 is negative 4. This is how to apply the product property and other properties such as constant, identity, scalar, and sum and difference to find the limit of a function. To learn more on the remaining properties, you are warmly welcome to watch the other videos. If you learned on this video, hit the like button and subscribe to be updated and notified for other math lessons. See you!